Hello, everyone, and welcome to Grip Locked, Foundation Disc Golf's weekly podcast. I'm Hunter, joined as always by Trevor. Connor's out of town today on a little ski trip. He's probably going to come back with a broken arm or something. Who knows? But
he's at the Olympics.
Oh, yeah, that's right, actually. He went to Beijing.
That's where he's skiing.
You can catch him on the ski and high jump. He just thought it looked so easy.
Did you know there was ski ballet?
Yeah, I saw that on TikTok.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
Awesome.
It was
awesome.
Incredible. I don't know what they're doing getting rid of that, but before we get into today's show, let's take a moment to hear from our sponsors. All right, today's episode brought to you by Manscaped. Exciting news across from our friends at Manscaped. They just launched their 4th generation performance package. This ultimate package includes their Lawnmower 4.0. The Manscaped, the leaders in male grooming, have done it again to make your grooming game to the next level. Join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with their new performance package 4.0 by going to manscaped.com and get 20% off plus free shipping with the code GRIPLOCKED. That's one word, GRIPLOCKED. The Performance Package 4.0 by Manscaped has arrived, and it is worth the wait. Inside this package, you'll find their Lawnmower 4.0, Weed Whacker ears and nose hair trimmer, Crop Preserver ball deodorant, Crop Reviver toner, Performance Boxer Briefs. I'm actually wearing those today. And a travel bag to hold all of your goodies. Unbelievable. The Lawnmower 4.0 is probably the greatest ball and body hair trimmer ever. It features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. It's a 7,000 RPM motor, multifunction on-off switch that can engage a travel lock, which is very useful. And it gives the ability to turn on a 4,000K LED spotlight on and off, which is needed for more precise shaving. Oh, and did I mention it's waterproof too?
You thought that was good, but want to take your grooming game even further to the next level? The Performance Package 4.0 also includes the Weed Whacker to chop your worst weeds up top in your nose and ear. The Weed Whacker is also waterproof and uses a 9,000 RPM motor-powered 360-degree rotary dual-blade system. This nose and ear hair trimmer provides proprietary skin-safe technology which helps prevent nicks, snags, and tugs in those delicate holes.
One thing that we actually haven't talked about in this ad read, which we've been doing for a long time now, Manscaped's a long-time supporter of the show, so huge thanks to them for that. But one thing we haven't talked about too much is their deodorant, which I got over the weekend, came in actually. I've been using their deodorant. It smells exactly like their cologne, body wash, and shampoo. So it's a perfect like scent match.
There's no scent mixing around here.
Exactly. So you don't have to worry. Like before I was using like 3 different scents from like
lost.
3 different companies at the same time. It was awful. You know, one time you smell like a Fiji Blast, and then the next day you smell like a freaking phoenix rising from the ashes. But now I just smell like manly every day, all the time. So, you know, if you or a man in your life want to have the same thing go on and increase your confidence, get 20% off and free shipping with the code GRIPLOCKED at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code one word GRIPLOCKED at manscaped.com. You've been through enough this past year. Treat yourself with the best tools for the job from Manscaped. All right, first thing on the docket today, we got to talk about Friday. The first, I guess I should say, Team Foundation announcement happened. I know that our listeners have been waiting a long time. I saw a lot of people actually surprised. They did not expect who we announced. Very stoked to welcome Mason Ford and Valerie Mandujano to our team. Really believe they're both going to have incredible seasons this year. Like I've said multiple times, I think Valerie Mandujano is probably one of the most underrated FPO players out there. She's on the brink of a breakout season. They're both representing DD this year, and so we'll have some. You actually can find it on our site right now. We have some custom stamped evaders, Mavericks, all kinds of stuff for both of them, and then some sick hoodies and hats and all that stuff you can pick up to represent them on and off the course. But yeah, we're super stoked to have them. And Mason, I think he speaks for himself. National Tour win last year. I expect we're going to see probably a pretty incredible season from him as well. I think he can kind of push to that top 15, top 10 in the world, which he might already be there depending on the ranking you look at. But we'll talk about that here in a second. But yeah, so super stoked to welcome both of them. We have one more announcement coming this week with another player. The next player is a bit of an up-and-comer. Some people who listen in probably don't know his name, but if we're right, you will know his name soon. So, well, you actually will because we'll say it. So, gotcha, catch 22. We can't lose there. But yeah, super excited to welcome Mason and Val. And like I said, you can head over to our website. They're all in the new release section. You'll see it front and center if you want to check out their merch and stuff like that and represent them on and off the course. And we're stoked to have them representing us throughout the year as well.
Absolutely.
Another thing that came out this past weekend is the PDGA updated, we'll call it the world rankings, but it's essentially the world ranking system.
Yeah.
But for right now, until things fully open up, they're starting with just a U.S. Tour ranking. Then as the European tour starts, they'll have a European ranking until travel fully opens up, and then they can use these same metrics for a world ranking. So basically they didn't want to do like a world ranking without the Europeans being able to be over here or the Americans being able to go over there.
Makes sense.
Well, right now they can. It's just there's more hoops to jump through. Once it becomes a more common thing that people are going both ways, then they'll have a world ranking. And it's a good start. It missed a little bit, but the main thing before we talk about too much with it, because I think we'll compare it to UDisc, what we currently have in the PDGA. We'll compare the pros and cons of those, and we'll also look at kind of what one pretty obvious change I think they could have made is, but we might disagree on it. But the main thing to start with that I really like with this over the UDisc World Rankings is just the ease of understanding how a player gets to where they're at.
Right.
Because the UDisc ranking, it seems legit, right?
It seems to be pretty accurate.
Yeah,
too.
It's just that
it's hard to understand.
They just have the whatever they call it, the ELO rating, but I forget they call it something. Doesn't matter. But they have like arbitrary number assigned to the player, dominance factor or something.
That's right.
And it's, as just a fan watching, it's hard to understand that number. Whereas for the PDGA, it's just they rank them based on they have last year's ranking includes your finish at Worlds, your finish at USDGC, your average Elite Series finish, your amount of wins, your amount of podiums, and your amount of top 10s. And it ranks you from first to whatever in those categories. So essentially, if someone got, let's just say, I think first place was Ricky for the wins category with 4. So Ricky and Eagle are both tied at first. So in the column, it puts first. So it doesn't mean they got one win. It means that they're the first ranked for that. And then it just averages across to say what that is. And then boom, you got your ranking.
We got one number to look at, and that makes it nice.
Yeah, so you can see easily how you get to that number, and you have one number to look at. And another thing, too, that in this announcement is they outlined that they've given the information to the Pro Tour. The quote is, to ensure the new rankings would be easy to communicate and exciting race to follow via channels like the Disc Golf Network through the Disc Golf Pro Tour season. They basically said they gave it to them to ensure that. So it sounds like the PDGA ranking is going to be the standard instead of UDisc this year, which if you watched last week's episode, we were speculating, like, is UDisc going to be live scoring or not? Literally the day after we announce it, the day after we are like questioning, like, what's going on? Why are they using the PDGA Live? UDisc comes out with their schedule and they're going to be at all the Pro Tours.
Yeah, that's about
so
right.
That's a good thing.
We just
that's
create
great.
action. We create change.
Yeah, we just force people's hands to announce it. But it is interesting that UDisc Live and all of that will be used. UDisc will still have their world ranking, but it seems like the PDGA is like making themselves the official ranking.
Right. Well, that's why it's interesting now that the PDGA, I don't know what kind of agreement the Pro Tour and the PDGA have with one another, whether it's just kind of like they came to an agreement or if there was actual like paperwork or anything involved. But now that the PDGA and the Pro Tour are kind of like very much in cahoots, like it is the official tour of the PDGA, it kind of gives the PDGA this weird amount of power to where they could probably come out with any platform they wanted that UDisc can already do and kind of force UDisc out of the Pro Tour because they kind of have that leverage, it seems like. I don't really know why they have any leverage at all.
Yeah, well, I don't know why they would want to do that.
But it's because, like, with the world rankings thing now, and maybe the Pro Tour even said to them, hey, we don't like the UDisc world rankings are kind of confusing. We'd like, because like right now, like with this new world ranking system, you could very quickly do the math live on the air and figure out, okay, if this player wins, they're going to be the new number one in the world. I feel like with the other system, it was just a little confusing to figure it all out on the go, because I was just watching golf last night and they were saying, okay, if Colin Morikawa wins this event, he'll finally get to number one in the world. And I was like, that's a cool thing to be able to throw out there. And the UDisc one, while I do think for the most part seemed pretty accurate, and we'll talk about why I think the PDGA one isn't quite yet, it was confusing. So
yeah. And, well, the other thing, though, is the UDisc one was updated after every single tournament. The PDGA, from what it said, is going to be updated after major events.
Yeah.
And then it said something about like either regularly or something like that throughout the season. So it didn't say like after every single event.
Yeah.
Or every single, because it's only Pro Tours and majors that counted into it. So it didn't say like after every single Pro Tour and major event. It basically just said like regularly throughout and then after majors.
I don't know why they would do that.
So that's what I don't know exactly. I don't know how it will be a lot easier to follow, like you're saying, but it might require, at least this year, it seems like it might require like a little bit of fan figuring out versus just immediate updates.
Because well, that's the thing is, at least it would be very easy for us.
Yeah, exactly.
But why would you not like?
They might end up.
Yeah, after a Pro Tour event, all you got to do is add a number to the equation because, it would stink if it was there was a 4-week gap, and at the start of that 4 weeks when it updated, a player had a hot streak and they were ranked super high, and then they just fell off the planet. But we're still seeing them super high in the rankings. That would be weird.
So let's go ahead and look at these rankings really quick. I'm gonna just read through the top 10 at MPO and FPO, and then we'll talk about some outliers that I noticed when you compare directly the PDGA to UDisc. And then it's pretty obvious why these outliers happen. Yeah. But MPO first, starting up top, we have Ricky, number 1 player in the world. Well, in the U.S. Tour ranking, we have Ricky, Paul, number 2, Eagle, number 3, Dickerson, number 4, Kyle Klein, number 5, James Conrad, number 6, Adam Hammes, number 7, Calvin Heimberg, number 8, Matty O, number 9, and Kevin Jones rounds out the top 10. Now on the FPO side, we have Paige Pierce, number 1, Katrina Allen, number 2, Haley King, number 3, Missy Gannon, number 4, Kristen Tatar, number 5, Sarah Hokum, 6th, Jessica Weiss, 7th, Lisa Fakis, 8th, Kona Panis, 9th, and Owen Scoggins in 10th. So, outliers right away. First thing, you probably noticed it when I said it. I saw some people comment about it on Facebook as well. Calvin Heimberg, very low on PDGA. Yeah. 8th in the world. I believe on UDisc. Let me actually pull up the UDisc ranking. But I believe he's 5th because I believe what's his name? Chris Dickerson jumped him. But other than that, yeah. So Calvin Heimberg is 5th. 8th place for Calvin Heimberg is way too low. So that alone in my head should have made the PDGA, when they were putting this out, look at it and been like, something's off there. Right. And you can see what is off by looking at who's way too high, which is James Conrad. James Conrad is 6th in the world in the PDGA, and I believe he's 19th. And I'm going to pull him up to make sure I have his exact number right. James Conrad is 17th in UDisc. So where does this come from? Well, it's the main factor in this is the fact that they separated out USDGC and Worlds as their whole own thing. So basically it's weighted the same as wins, podium, top 10, Elite Series average finish. All of those are weighted the same as USDGC and Worlds. So when you have James Conrad come in 1st at Worlds and 20th at USDGC, and Calvin Heimberg come in 42nd because they do it at the cut line. So he came in 45th at Worlds or USDGC, 42nd and 11th. It immediately sets him back, even though he was on average beating James Conrad by 8 places a tournament.
Yeah, it's just not even close. The problem with this is, well, number one, so the problem is that PGA put this ranking out. And I get they were going for simplicity, but sometimes it can't be this simple, because as soon as you create that initial list as the PDGA and see these incredibly obvious outliers, it's not even as soon as you see Calvin Heimberg, you're like, well, that's not right, because you cannot have only 2 majors in a year, or even if there was 4, and have them weighed so heavily. You have to.
They should be weighed heavier.
They should still be weighed. Well, they're automatically weighed heavier because they're on their own instead of being an entire season. So that's what I'm saying, is that they just have to tweak the weight. I still agree that they should matter, because performing in majors is very important. However, they need to just tweak it down a little bit. And then once the 4 majors are in a season as well, that will help too, because there'll be more opportunities. Because right now, if you only got 2 chances and you just have 2 slightly bad events, I mean, you're getting crushed.
I believe for the U.S. Tour rankings, until it's updated to the World rankings, the European Open this year is going to count for the Euro rankings.
So they'll have 3.
Have 3: USDGC, Worlds, and Champions Cup.
I'm sure they'll change it. I hope they do. But that's all they. It seems like, in my mind, that seems like all they really have to do is just tweak that weight of what the majors are count for a little bit, to where things kind of slide better in place.
Personally, I think it should just be an average.
That would help.
So you have, instead of right now being USDGC a column, Worlds a column, then Elite Series average finish, rating. I forgot about the rating. The rating's in there. Wins, podium, top 10. I think it should be major average finish, then the rest of them. Because then that helps balance it a little bit. So now instead of James Conrad having a 20 and a 1, with only 2, it's the exact same, correct? No. It's a little different because it just changes the overall average. With 3 is where it gets even more, because line after line.
Once there's 4 majors, you might be able to do that, and it worked perfectly.
I think it reduces their weight a little bit. So it's still weighted heavier than Elite Series or anything like that, because there's only a few majors, but it reduces the weight a little bit. Let's look at some other outliers, though. These are mostly due to the same factor.
Yeah.
Next one I noticed was Andrew Presnell. Pretty low on the PDGA. I want to say he's 40th in the PDGA ranking. Let's find him. Yeah, 40th in the PDGA ranking. Whereas I think he's a little bit higher than he should be on the UDisc ranking, 18th. Personally, I have him 25th, somewhere like that. So I don't know what I actually have him in my top 25, but I don't think he's as high as 18, but he's definitely not as low as 40.
Right.
He'd be closer to 18 than he would be to 40.
Yeah, the problem is you can look through the list, and every time it's that the outliers are people that, like, there are some people that were literally beating guys way ahead of them by like 15 places on the Elite Series by average, and we're still way behind because of one bad major finish. And like I said, we agree that the major tournaments should matter, and I also agree that I like the simplistic approach to trying to make a world ranking system that makes sense. And I also know that you're never going to have one that's perfect.
No.
But I think UDisc was, at least, even though it's confusing, they were at least able to achieve one that doesn't make you scratch your head very often. Whereas this one, immediately, there were some names that just stuck out like sore thumbs. Like, well, that's just not right.
Well, because and part of what UDisc or what PDGA quoted is like why they should have a more frequently updated ranking system over a rating is then you don't have to worry about like one bad outlier round having an effect.
Right.
But what they didn't notice is by doing it this way, you can have one bad outlier tournament have a whole lot of weight. Because Andrew Presnell, 24th at Worlds, I believe, or USDGC it is, average finish 28th, 1023 rated, no wins, one podium, 2 top 10s it looks like, but he came in 80th at Worlds.
Right.
So that immediately just drags him way down to where average finish was 28th. If you scroll up a little bit, you'll find AB, average finish 33rd. You'll find Austin Hannum, 30th, average finish 31st. You'll find James Proctor, 25th, average finish 36th. So like on average, Presnell's beating him by 8 places. But because of Worlds being, Proctor finished 17th at Worlds.
Yeah.
Andrew Presnell finished 80th. Immediately, he's losing that.
It's tough too because I think people do get the wrong idea, myself included, about world rankings a lot of times. Where like what you want so badly is for world rankings to be an accurate reflection of who is the best player and like who are the next best player. When really, no matter what you do, it is going to come down to who had the best season and who had the next best season. So like there is always going to be stuff like that, but there's just some simple fixes they could do. Like, it would not take much.
Yeah.
And then we'd get closer to where it should be.
What's tough is like I like almost the UDisc list seems a lot closer to accurate than the PDGA list, but it's a lot more confusing how they got there.
Yeah.
So like if they could like merge somehow to where like there's easily noticeable data on like how you got to where you are. Because I mean, another few people, Marweed, very similar situation to Presnell. He's in because this one's also
Marweed's like 10th.
Marweed, he's 37th in the PDGA.
I mean, that just can't be right.
Andrew he's a better player than that.
Yeah,
I don't think he's as good as they have him. UDisc has him as 11th. Again, similar thing to Presnell. I don't think he's quite that high, but he's not 37th in the world. Yeah. We know that much. And then there's a few other players that are like flipped right next to each other. So Ulibarri, Clemens, and Emerson Keith are both too close to each other on both lists, but in different areas.
The whole point is the fact that the PDGA created this initial list and looked at it and didn't see a problem with it. When a
lot of people looked at it. They got player feedback. They got a whole slew of things.
It just seems so obvious. I don't know what they're
on FPO. The list isn't that criminal or anything like that. Neither are really criminal, but FPO is a lot more straightforward.
FPO is a very more it will get a lot less straightforward when all the European players.
Yeah, well, like Kristen Tatar is a little low on the PDGA, but it's because she just wasn't over here much, so it's hard. It's hard to do that when you're not factoring in the tournament she played over there, which UDisc is. Lisa Fakis pretty high on the PDGA, but again, it is what it is. There's not like a drastic like 20-30 spot difference. But the absence of the Europeans is a lot more noticeable in FPO than it is MPO. Because FPO, if you look at the UDisc rankings, you've got 3 Europeans in the top 5. Yeah. And on the PDGA, you only have 1 European on the list, which is Kristen Tatar.
I guess the good news is at least that like the top 3, especially like the world number 1 is really the title that matters the most, and like makes sense. They got that one right. So at least they didn't create this formula and all of a sudden like it has like Dickerson is world number 1, and then we'd all really be scratching our heads. But at least because world number 1 at the end of the day is the title that these rankings are like built for. Like you want to be that. So at least they have that right.
All right, so let's rotate into the Disc Golf Network. Also this past week updated their pricing, so I can find the announcement over here. So a few notable things in the announcement. First and foremost, European Open and USDGC are advertised as part of the Disc Golf Network subscription this year. So you'll be able to watch
I wonder if
USDGC
you'll be able to watch
without
Hole
the bonus.
17 this year.
I don't know. I don't know. So it basically just said like let me read the exact part of it. We're thrilled to bring the USDGC and European Open to the Disc Golf Network as part of the 30 plus event package included in the subscription. That's Jeff Spring talking. And then the USDGC and European Open will have pay-per-view options available for exclusive post-produced content, as well as coverage of the President's Cup. Post-production content will be released 30 days after the event ends on YouTube. And somewhere in here, they do confirm that it's included. Yeah, right here. Disc Golf Network will broadcast all rounds for Elite Series and PDGA majors, including USDGC and European Open live, included with the Disc Golf Network subscription. So last year, you did have to pay like additional to watch USDGC, right? Regardless if you were a subscriber or not. This year, they're all together. Another thing too is they introduced individual rounds and individual tournament packages. So it's $4.99 for an individual round, or $9.99 if you want to pay for an individual tournament. They upped the price per month to $11.99 per month, or $100 annually. And then there is still the discount for $5.99 per month for PDGA members. They also added some additional PDGA member benefits, which is free access to the Las Vegas Challenge, Champions Cup, USWDGC, last 2 rounds of World, and the MVP Open, regardless of if you have a Disc Golf Network subscription or not. So that kind of adds a little benefit to the PDGA.
Here. So the disc golf season runs February through
end of February. You might as well say March, because last week of February.
But you have to pay for the month of February if you're paying monthly.
You would.
So you go February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October. You got to pay for 9 months. So 9 months. If you have I'm trying to figure out what's the cheapest way, because you said
$100 annually,
so
unless you're a PDGA member.
No, because the PDGA, if you factor in the PDGA membership though,
PDGA membership is $50
so
for an AM,
$50, and then
it's $6 a month.
9 times 6,
so that's
54.
54.
So it's a little more.
So 104. So
Yeah.
the cheapest way is don't be a PDGA member.
Just don't join.
Well,
the PDGA.
what I haven't seen is if
you're already in the PDGA. Yes,
does the discount apply to, like, can you get an annual discount for PDGA members? Like, can you get it be only $50?
Because I was curious to see. I looked up what the NFL Sunday ticket price was, because I was just curious to see what they charge. Because I mean, obviously, with that, you're getting essentially like, what is it, like, because like 2 teams are on a bye. I don't forget how many buys they do, but you're getting like 15 games a week, I think, with that, and that costs $300 for the whole season.
Yeah,
and like 70 something a month if you do it that way. I was just curious to see the pricing comparison. But that, I mean, if you're like a lot of people that are going to watch live disc golf are PDGA members.
Yeah, but I was trying to think, like,
and
even
$6 a month,
if you're a PDGA member,
that's not bad at all.
I couldn't see if they gave PDGA member an average or like a discount on the annual pricing.
Yeah.
But if you're paying $50 for a PDGA member, and then even if they gave you a 50% discount on the annual pricing to $50, it's the same as just not being a PDGA member and paying annually.
100 annually is not bad.
It's not bad.
Because what does that break it down to? You said there's 30 events?
There's 30 events plus I think you said 30 plus events plus the majors. So I don't think the majors are included in those 30 plus events. So it's like less than $3 an event.
That's what I'm saying. Like, if you think about it that way, you're a couple dollars to watch, pretty well produced live disc golf. Like that's fair pricing.
It must be including. They're part of the 30 plus events, so it must be including Silver Series in that.
Yeah,
because I'm trying to think of what all events.
That's fair pricing to me.
Yeah,
that's not bad at all.
Some people were complaining about it. Obviously,
how? Like that is.
Because people don't want to pay to watch.
That's what I'm saying though. A couple dollars, literally, it's like you going to your local course and making a little donation, or it's like an ace pot at a tournament. Like, just throw in a few bucks.
It's not bad at all.
It's gonna grow the sport.
And and also, Joe Mez, all of that's still gonna exist. So if you don't want to pay, there's still free options for almost every tournament out there. USDGC only through the Disc Golf Network, but other than that, it seems like every other tournament's going to be.
I'm going to try really
next
hard
day.
to like be on my live tweeting game this year to like make people jealous that aren't watching live disc golf, because it is so much more fun when everybody's on Twitter like tweeting about it and like in the Discord.
It's also like post produce is a great way to like catch like the recap of the round essentially.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love that post produce exists.
Absolutely, and post produce will always exist.
If I miss a round, like, I'm gonna watch it post produce, and I'm not gonna be like, oh, this is gross. But I won't enjoy it as much because
that's what I was gonna say.
I don't like I don't like listening to commentary where the guys already know what happens.
Well, I personally just enjoy
I already
just
know
being
what won.
in the moment of like a sick shot happens, and you, whether or not you're watching it with a friend or friends live, or you can virtually be connected to people who are experiencing the same thing at the same time.
Right.
To where like when James Conrad's shot goes in, boom, I can tweet about it. I can hop in our Discord, which if you're not in our Discord, by the way, there's a great time to join it. It's free.
Spot.
Link is in the description of pretty much if you're on audio or YouTube, but there's a live tournament chat in there that absolutely pops off every season. And like the YouTube live chat can be very toxic and annoying a lot of times, but our Discord
got mods.
Yeah, our Discord has mods and all of that, but on top of it, it's just people who are watching live disc golf to enjoy live disc golf and not to be critical and go back and forth. So personal, definitely biased opinion. I think our live tournament chat is the place to be when you're watching live disc golf.
Yes.
But regardless, there's just something about a moment happens, good or bad, and you're able to interact with people live in that moment. That's why I personally, whenever I can, I enjoy disc golf live.
Yeah. 100%.
But there's nothing wrong with the post-produced, and it's not going anywhere. If it ever does go anywhere, it'll just be post-produced under the Disc Golf Pro Tour's umbrella in the future. But $11.99 per month, yeah, that one, $11.99 per month, seems somewhat expensive. But when you look at $100 annually, that brings it down to less than $10 a month.
Right.
But then also, if you're a PDGA member, it's only $6 a month.
Yeah, and even what were you saying? It's like $9.99 for an individual event. So
so if you want, if you just have a favorite event,
if you just want to watch majors and a couple other, maybe you spend $50 on the year, it's not bad.
Or $4.99 for individual rounds, so you can wait and see. To be honest with you, there's not really a card I want to watch. Well, that's the other thing too. Is I'm very curious to see how Las Vegas Challenge goes this upcoming weekend. Quick side note: you might notice during this episode we're not talking about Las Vegas Challenge. Why? We're gonna have why? I'm glad you asked. We're gonna have sponsor. No, we're gonna have 2 episodes of Grip Locked on tournament weeks. We're gonna have this episode on Monday. It's gonna recap the week before and any tournaments that happened the weekend before, and then we're gonna have an episode the day before the tournament starts. That's just a full only preview episode. So that way they can be split separately. And we can go more in depth on both sides because people have been really enjoying the off-season feel. And I felt like Monday, now this will allow us to dive into the recap of the tournament before a little bit more and also have some of that off-season feel later in the episode. And then Wednesday or Thursday, depending on what day a tournament starts. So this week it'll be on Wednesday. We'll be able to go full dive in, stats, all of that on the tournament coming up that week. So we're going to test it this week, see how it goes. I'm assuming most people will like it, but we'll go back to, for Las Vegas Challenge, I'm very curious, though, for the Disc Golf Network to see if they're able to roll over their coverage that they were able to do for the All-Star event. Because for the All-Star event, we saw a ton of golf. I mean, 4 or 5 cards. And you were only seeing shots that mattered.
Right.
So when it came to, on FPO especially, there was a few cards that just, not got out of hand, but the score was basically set in stone, or at least in the middle of the round. So unless something crazy happened, you didn't see that card. Mm-hmm. So if a cool shot or something happened, you saw the card. But if a player's 15 strokes out of it and is on chase card, you're not going to see that player on live coverage. So that's something that I personally really like, because also if someone storms from third card up, they are able to get a camera over there, capture that. So I'm hoping that alone, I think, drastically increases and separates the difference, because right now the issue in the past has been, why would you choose to watch a 4-hour round of disc golf if they're only following the lead card when you can watch the same exact disc golf the next day in 30 minutes?
Right.
What live should be is a whole different package, which is you're not watching just 4 guys or 4 girls. You're watching realistically the highlights of the entire field.
Sure.
So it's popping. You have Paul's drive on 1. Now, all right, as they're walking up, we're going to throw it over to Eagle and Calvin on hole 3 and stuff like that.
I mean, the day that they get to where it's like watching golf to where it's just shot after shot after shot.
That's very simple. That's how the All-Star event felt.
Yeah, that's what I'm always curious each year to see where you notice the Pro Tour upping their game. I remember one year being oh, their graphics packages are so much better this year. I think last year the thing I noticed the most was oh, they're really using stat packages really well. They have really good statistics to reference, and so I'm interested to see this year what it's going to be, if anything. Hopefully that I'm like, oh wow, they've really stepped up their game with this year.
Well, they're also doing separate streams for MPO and FPO, and what that allows is there's going to be more cameras on the course for both.
That alone should do it, right?
Yeah.
Like that should be,
because before, you had 2 cards of MPO being covered and 2 cards of FPO being covered, whereas this year we should be able to have enough cameras to fully cover 4 cards of MPO and 4 cards of FPO. But when you split it even farther, you might be able to get like a camera out to 5th or 6th card. So there should be, and they also on All-Star Weekend did a lot of like replays of like, this is what just happened. So like basically you weren't going to miss someone's tee shot because it was happening the same time as someone else's tee shot. They would just be able to be like, all right, moments ago on hole 3, this was so-and-so teeing off, and now we're going live to his putt for birdie.
Yeah.
And it was very confusing to follow on the All-Star Weekend because they didn't have, the scoring wasn't just straight 1st to 10th scoring, and that was the graphic we were being showed. It was a head-to-head. But if the scoring, like in a normal tournament, is just 1st to 10th, it's not hard to follow because it's very easy to A, have it up on your phone, or B, they were showing the scores and James Conrad is in the mix, and now we're cutting to James Conrad's shot. What happened here?
Right.
So I'm very excited to see how that goes, and I'm also excited that the PDGA members have free access to Las Vegas Challenge. So if you're someone who's on the fence, you're like, would I like live disc golf? Or maybe I hated live disc golf in the past, but so I don't want to pay for it. You're able to give it a shot this week. And then also Champions Cup, you're able to give it a shot again, USW, DGC, all of that. So you'll have a few different options throughout the year to like test the waters before you commit to paying $100 annually or $6 a month or whatever it may be. But overall, I think it's moving in the right direction. I understand some of the pushback. Whenever you increase price, it's going to be pushback. But if we're able to increase the product, get it out there in a better way and more concise for us to be able to bring it in, then what's the harm? If we get a better product, I'll pay a better price.
Absolutely.
But with that being said, it's time for a fan favorite segment, Trevor's Trivia. It's going to be the first Trevor's Trivia in a while where I don't have Connor to like battle against.
No competition. So this actually comes from the PDGA did a write-up on their website. Hopefully you didn't read it. About the 100 Win Club.
I did not read it. Okay. I almost read it multiple times, but I did not read it.
So it's actually these are pretty cool statistics. They basically talked about different ways players got to the 100 Win Club. The fastest, the oldest, the youngest, all that. So I'm going to ask you some trivia related to that because I thought some of it was pretty cool. So first of all, we have, and we're going to go. Well, for some of these, this is going to be MPO and FPO for this one. So This is going to be who was the first to reach the 100 Win Club for FPO and MPO.
The first ever to reach it?
First ever to reach 100 wins. It's a lot of wins.
It is a lot of wins. We'll go Ken Climo, MPO. And FPO, dang. Des Redding?
Juliana Korver.
One of them, how many wins does Juliana Korver have now?
I think over 200.
Yeah, I was gonna say, doesn't someone have 300 wins?
Elaine
King has 300. Okay.
Climo, it was like 9 years after his first recorded event.
Dang. So he was winning 10 events a year, over 10 events a year. Jeez.
Well, wait till you hear later. Well, actually, we'll go into it right now because this one's pretty crazy. This is just MPO, FPO combined. Who was the fastest player ever?
Elaine King.
No, to get to 100 wins.
Fastest?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'm assuming by that it's not Elaine King. I was thinking she has 300 wins. Like, she had to get there fast.
She got to 100 after Juliana Korver.
Oh, so you're saying fastest from like the
start of your career?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But I guess their career started at the same time.
Around the same time,
Okay.
And then you can also take a guess at how long it took them. Based on, I gave you Climo's as like a gauge.
So it's faster than Climo at 9 years.
Yes.
So it's got to be an FPO player. We'll go Des Redding.
How long do you think it took?
6 years.
Wrong. It's Katrina Allen. And
really?
It took her 5 years and 2 months.
Is that including amateur wins?
It's a 100 Win Club.
So that includes amateur wins?
Probably.
Okay.
Probably. 100 total wins. And then
I was thinking professional wins.
The last one would be the youngest, and this is, you go MPO and FPO and guess their age as well.
The youngest. That's like nearly impossible to know. I mean, I'm going to say, did Katrina Allen start her career late? Because if she got it in 5 years and she started young, we'll go Paul Macbeth for MPO.
Nope.
Why would it be Paul?
It's kind of surprising that it isn't, but
Is it Katrina Allen for FPO?
nope.
Then I'm clueless.
It's Ricky for MPO at age 24.
Okay, that makes sense because he was during the same time as Paul, but younger than Paul.
And then Paige at 26 for the FPO.
That also makes sense. How long did it take Paige to get 100 wins?
I don't know that it. Well, I don't know. I'm not sure when her rookie season was, but it had to be quite a while because I think she started pretty young. Like she started playing disc golf pretty young. So that's the thing is like for fastest, it kind of depends on like how good you are when you start getting into events. Is kind of how it works. So like Kat probably started playing competitively when she was like already pretty good. It actually says with Kat, she got her 100th win July 2015. Just 5 years and 2 months after her first recorded event, which she won by 34 strokes.
Holy cow.
The quickest AM to reach the milestone is Denise Gentry, who managed the wins in just 5.5 years. Yeah, okay. But
it's fascinating. Yeah, I was clueless. I was clueless on all of that.
Oh, yeah, and Dickerson is the quickest male, but he did it in 5 years and 3 months.
See, Dickerson doesn't surprise me because I distinctly remember when he got into disc golf. I want to say it was like 2016.
He was also only a few months shy of beating Ricky for youngest.
Because when he started playing around this era, he was dominating like everything, Tennessee and over. And whenever I first heard about him, the thing like people told me, they're like, yeah, dude, this guy's only been playing disc golf for a year.
The craziest.
And I like kept telling myself, I was like, because I at that time was trying to be really good at disc golf. I didn't know if it was like a touring pro or what I was trying to do, but I was trying to get as good as I could, as fast as I could.
Yeah.
And I've been playing for like 2 or 3 years at that time. And Dickerson was obviously miles better than me. And so like to pad my pride, I was telling myself, well, he probably has only been playing with the PDGA for a year. Like surely he hasn't been playing disc golf for a year. I don't know the actual answer of like when he started playing disc golf versus the PDGA, but I do distinctly remember like once he started his PDGA membership, he was just great.
Yeah.
He like started good PDGA wise.
It is interesting because when you think about like if those records will be broken because it is getting so much harder to win.
Yeah.
Just even on your local scene though.
Yeah, but 100 wins, you're going to have people who can, what the local scene would call them, sandbag, but play well within the rules and be able to just like mop up intermediate week in and week out.
Yeah.
And if you play 50 events a year, you might be able to get 30 wins a year and do it in 3 years. If you're like, all I'm going for is the fastest player to 100 wins.
It's interesting because like, I think, especially for like the youngest player one too, like now that the tour is getting more sustainable to where like if you're good enough, you can play on the tour. Like we'll see younger players get on the tour, but then once you get there, like
you're not winning that much.
You're not winning that much.
Yeah, because like Gannon Burr, talent wise, he could probably get to 100 wins as the youngest player, but he'd have to play his local scene left and right. If he's playing on tour,
he might win.
He might get 1, maybe 2 wins a year if he's having great years.
Yeah,
and so you might never get to 100 wins. You're going to play for 50 years at that rate.
Yeah, it's crazy.
The 100 win club is going to be a more and more elusive club.
Yeah, the days of mopping up.
Well, 100 pro win club.
Yeah,
because I'd be interested if Cats had to be AM. We can actually tell.
Yeah, go ahead and look.
Because 100, unless she was just playing like local FPO and was just mopping up.
Yeah, I don't see her necessarily playing a lot of AM. She might have just been playing local FPO.
That'd be crazy if they're talking strictly
5 years though. Like that's 20 wins. That's 20 wins a year.
2010, she played.
Insane. It starts in
9 advanced.
It starts in 2015, or no, it ends in 2015.
Yeah, so 2010 she played. It has to be AM because she played 9 AM tournaments and 3 women open tournaments, and she won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 advanced tournaments. But 2011 she might have went full open.
So when did she start breaking?
Yeah, 2011 she went 38 pro tournaments. So that's what it was. She just played 38 professional tournaments, and she won a lot of them. But she's playing she won a bunch of A tiers, B tiers, won a bunch of stuff.
It's insane.
But yeah, so she played 38 tournaments in 2011, 41 tournaments in 2012. Oh my gosh, that's 33 what it is. Tournaments in 2013.
That's the other thing about the 100 win club.
41 tournaments in 2014. And then 35. So she didn't play below 30 tournaments in 2011 to 2015.
If you're on the tour, it's hard to get there quick too because you're not going to play as many events.
Yeah.
The days of it's because players back then to make a disc golf living, And there still are players like this, but the big players, they had to play as many as they could, and they had to sweep up local events when they could. I mean, they'd be looking. Oh my gosh, what are you doing?
My computer fell asleep again.
But players used to hunt like purses, like sneaky good purses, and look to see who was showing up, and like could they just like that's how you had to make your living. You had to almost just like
that's what I want to look
finesse the tour.
I remember one of the years recently, Emerson Keith played like an insane amount of tournaments.
70 something.
Yeah, that's
because
what I thought.
He did flex starts.
It was like 2019 or 20.
That man was living, and that's when he got super good.
When was it? 2017. 2017. He did 73 tournaments in 1 year.
Yes.
$13,000 purse money.
Because they're mostly flex starts.
Yeah.
Like how much did he win for winning one of those flex starts?
Let me find.
I'm sure he won a flex start. He played a bunch of them.
He wasn't winning much of anything.
I mean, this was like when he was getting good at disc golf. So it was
flex start. He won this one at Cedar Hills Coyote, $90.
$90. There you go.
But then he won the Cedar Hill Chill the next day for $600.
Okay. All right. Respect.
Another flex start, $60.
I would.
Another flex start, $50.
I would love to play 73 tournaments in here because you wouldn't even be fazed by a bad one because you know you got another one coming right up. Like,
yeah, I mean, so listen
every time you and I
listen
play,
to this week of October 7th through October 13th, he had 3 events in those 6 days. So like every other day he had an event.
Yeah. This is what happens to us when we decide to play an event finally because we never play them. So it's like the Masters when we show up. We're like we have one shot at this thing. Whereas if you're playing every other weekend, you're just like, well, that was a bad one, but we'll get the next one. But when you and I play,
he played
like,
9 events in January that year.
That's awesome.
9 events in January.
I want to play it.
That was like 2 a week in January.
Let's play a flex start when we go to Texas. Let's hop in a flex start.
Flex starts are terrifying.
No, they're not. What does it matter?
Nothing, I guess.
Nothing. It's nothing.
I guess.
Yes.
Another thing that came out this past week is the Pro Tour announced their updated points and awards for the 2022 season. So starting with the points, they said Silver Series events will be awarded 25% of standard Disc Golf Pro Tour Elite Series points. Pro Tour playoff events will be awarded 125 points. And majors this year are going to be included and awarded 150 points, 150% of the points. To qualify for the first Pro Tour playoff...
That's the kind of scale that PDGA need to be using.
Yeah. To qualify for the first Pro Tour playoff event in Green Mountain Championship, players must fall within the top 100 MPO or top 50 FPO. Then the top 64 MPO and top 32 FPO will qualify for the second playoff event, the MVP Open. Then the Tour Championship will maintain the same format with 32 MPO and 16 FPO, competing over 4 rounds with the top 4 scores from each round advancing. For the 2022 Tour Championship, the top 32 MPO and top 14 FPO will automatically qualify and granted buys. I think they messed up there. No, top 30. I messed up reading it. Duh. Top 30 MPO and top 14 FPO will be automatically. So there's 2 spots that aren't automatic buys. So the 2 final spots in each division will be determined by a play-in event to be held the Wednesday prior to the start of the event. 31st and 32nd seed on the MPO side and 15th and 16th seed on FPO will automatically gain entry to the play-in event and will be joined by 4 additional players in each division. These 4 play-in spots will be reserved for any player who won a Pro Tour Elite Series event or major but didn't qualify points-wise. And there's also...
I don't know if there'll be any like that.
Probably not, but then they said then those spots, if the spots are still available, the invitation is passed to the next player in the point standing. So basically, it's like a bubble play-in event.
Yeah,
so it's either going to be cool. If someone like shows up, isn't doing a full tour, but wins one of the Pro Tour events, then they have a chance to still get to the Pro Tour finale. Or if not, then it's like a bubble of like, if you're right on the edge, you still have a chance to get in.
I love the playoff format this year. I love that they're narrowing down the field. My only wonder, and I still can't decide from the language they're using, is so they're basing this off the FedEx Cup playoffs on the PGA Tour. And in that, what happens is, so when you take like the top 100 into the first playoff event, and then you cut the field down into the top 60, it's not based on where you finished in that last event. It's not like the top 60 spots from that event. It's the points. It's still based on points. Like Correct. It's still the top. So I'm hoping that's the way they're going to do it.
That's what they're saying.
That's what they're saying. Yeah. Okay, so that makes more sense. That way you can't have like now with 60 spots, you're not going to see Paul McBeth, come in 68th and then
No.
get kicked out.
No.
But I like to see it that way. I wish, honestly, like
that's why they're making the playoff events worth more.
Right.
Too,
right.
so that you have a chance to earn more points
That
against
makes
people.
sense. I love the playoff format. I wouldn't mind even one more event in there. I wouldn't mind going like maybe like 100, like 160, 40, and then throwing to the playoffs. I just love like the cutthroatness of like the playoff format, where like especially when like Maple Hill is only top 60. So like if you want to go to that really like beloved tournament, you've got to be good enough.
Yeah, and it's gonna make the tournament's a lot more fun to watch, because you're going to have, like people are going to be in the race for the player of the year and stuff like that, but you're also going to have a separate race, which is getting onto the bubble to possibly make it to the tour championship or guaranteeing your spot.
Right.
So it gives, again, more storylines to follow.
It brings more, now that you kind of call it the playoffs, you immediately bring more spotlight to that tour championship. Like hopefully they're really tracking that and like drawing
I'm sure they will.
to that, because that is like that's a fun thing.
Because then you also it's another storyline to follow up to Worlds of like a player who shows up, plays a few events, and like is able to sneak into the top 100.
Right.
And they're like, hey, with that, they've now made, now he's in 58th place. He might be, if he has a good performance at the 2 playoff events, he might be able to sneak into the tour championship.
Qualifying stuff, like with the USDGC, what they do, and cuts and things of that nature just make everything way more interesting.
Yeah, because there's way more storylines to follow.
Exactly.
And it's not just who wins week in and week out.
You're not just looking at, who's going to compete for the win. You're like, who's going to get into that last spot. And like there's always, because like even if there's a runaway for the win, that spot in the middle, there's always going to be a tug of war.
There's something, people are fighting for something at all times.
Right.
And that also like enhances the like underdog nature in disc golf.
Yeah.
Because like right now you essentially just have like, if you have a player like Jackie Chen, who in Taiwan beat James Conrad, Nate Perkins, like a few, I think Barzy might have been there. If you have like a breakout player like that, that's a storyline. Or if a player like makes a lead card or chase card you haven't heard of before. But now this gives like a whole nother storyline to follow of like making the tour championship is getting harder and harder to do. So a player just making that you haven't heard of at the start of the season, that's a big storyline, and it gives fans something else to root for throughout the season. Because like your favorite player, realistically, some people's favorite players this year might not make the tour championship.
Yeah.
Or like you absolutely love that player, you follow him on all social media,
is getting
whatever.
muddied. It is getting very tough.
And the FPO is going to be similar, because they also said the Pro Tour remains the right to add players to the play-in tournament based on COVID disruptions. So essentially, if something happened where the Europeans couldn't make it over for enough events to qualify, it seems like that language there is like, we reserve the right to like invite them back over if they didn't meet the criteria, but now have a chance to play in the play-in game or play-in tournament. But stuff like that, I mean, it gives you something else to follow along with, something else to be excited about. And I don't know, I like when there's additional storylines that like the average viewer not going to care 2 rips about. But if you're super into disc golf and you're constantly wanting to follow more, this is something else to get excited about and
100%.
get to follow and get to talk about if you're us.
100%.
The other thing that they fixed, which huge props to the Pro Tour, because the Pro Tour year after year after year proves something happens, they respond to it immediately. If it's fixable immediately, they fix it. If not, they listen to all the feedback. They filter through what's crap and what's good feedback, and then they make changes based on it.
Yeah, the Pro Tour is the example of what all of disc golf should be, and the PDGA struggles with this sometimes, whereas we are still young enough, and especially the Pro Tour, where you make the changes now. Every time there's a problem, change, until you get to one where that everybody agrees is a good solution, and then you stick with it. But they are never afraid to take feedback and make the change without hesitation. They just do it.
What's interesting here, though, is the player of the year is the first change that's happened, and that was one that actually wasn't pushed back that hard. Missy Gannon won it when it should have went to Paige Pierce.
Yeah.
But there wasn't like a huge outrage. And so what they did is they took away the fan vote. So the player of the year, 33% media vote, 33% tour vote, tour points, 33% average finish at majors and the tour championship. So basically the media is going to have a vote, the tour points are going to weigh in, and then they put weight on majors and the tour championship, the biggest tournaments of the year.
That is very smart, because what happened last year, that was the issue, was basically the media and fans combined. If a player had a good tour championship finish, then all it took was for media and fans. They were the ones that decided it.
Yeah.
And really, elite series finishes or points rather should be like the biggest thing. So this makes sense. It takes away that possibility.
The media still has so there is still a vote from not from fans but from the media. But then tour points and majors are all that really matters, because if you do really well there and there, the only thing the media vote's going to decide is if there's two players that are neck and neck that did really well.
Yeah.
But if there's two players that are neck and neck, then you're going to have pushback either way. It doesn't matter which one it ends up with. But this allows it to get to two players being neck and neck versus it basically just removes the recency bias.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that's what happened with Missy Gannon was she had a great season. Don't get me wrong, but she was not player of the year last year.
Not even close.
And so, but she ended with the Throw Pink Women's Disc Golf Championship win, which was just an A tier. We have to keep reminding ourselves that.
I know.
It felt way more like a major than U.S. Women's did, but it was just an A tier.
Is that going to be...
Still just an A tier this year.
Still just an A tier.
Yeah, because USW DGC still going on. And then
Pro Tour at least.
And then she won the Pro Tour Championship. So back-to-back wins, end of the year, recency bias, big fan vote, media vote, boom, eliminated everything else, whereas Paige should have won Player of the Year. Mm-hmm. Paige didn't even win PDGA Player of the Year this year, I don't think. Pretty sure it was Kat. Which is funny because the PDGA released their rankings and who's on top. Shocker, Paige.
Yeah. The numbers checked out there.
Yeah. But regardless, the next thing they updated, this is the one that was
Paige,
the most pushback.
It was Paige even after not winning Worlds, too.
Yeah.
That should be even more of a...
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing that the Pro Tour updated based on feedback was the Rookie of the Year. So, sorry, everyone. Scott Stokely's not going to be Rookie of the Year this year.
Thank goodness.
The criteria. So, the Rookie of the Year is now going to be given to the player with the highest points total who has not played more than 3 combined Elite Series, Pro Tour Elite Series, National Tour, or major events in a single previous season.
Man, isn't it crazy that all those people that said that they were like, you just don't understand why Juliana... Isn't it crazy that we were actually right?
Shocker.
That the
players
that Rookie of the Year should mean Rookie of the Year. Yeah, they fixed it.
The other thing too is players who have competed in 2 or more PDGA majors in a single season will also be ineligible. So essentially, what this allows...
This is just the Corver clause, is what you can call this.
Yeah. What this allows is if a player's... Because we were trying to last year figure out what is the solution, because you didn't want to go just strictly PDGA rookie, because you don't want to take away where you can't play local scene.
Right.
Because it should be a tour rookie, but it was a confusing thing. So this basically solves it, because even if you go out and play a pro tour, or if you're a local pro and you go play Worlds or something like that, as long as you're just doing one here, if you play a pro tour event and a world championship in a year, you're still a tour rookie, as it should be. That makes sense. It allows players to kind of pop in and out. It's gonna be a lot harder to pop onto the pro tour nowadays, and it's also Elite Series. If you want to play Silver Series events, also doesn't count towards it. Great. You can play a full season of Silver Series, not count towards it. Perfect. Only thing that could get weird is if someone won all the Silver Series events and somehow got enough points to make it to the Tour Championship, and then could they still be Rookie of the Year the next year? That would still be fair, because
you gotta just do this
Silver Series
as you go,
because that's the most unlikely scenario you could think of, is that a player just dominates Silver Series and then ends up.
That would make no sense.
No, but so this allows all of that to take place to where you have a true tour rookie, and they don't get gypped of Rookie of the Year because of Juliana Korver coming in and having a great season. She even herself said she felt like she didn't deserve it, because she's literally the only thing that you can talk about Juliana Korver as being the greatest player of all time. That was the hardest part.
Yeah,
it's it wasn't it was a player who played some back in the day, but wasn't very didn't have a lot of notoriety, and now they're back on tour and won it. It also had nothing to do with her age. It was just that she's a 5-time world champion and one of the winningest players of all time.
100%.
And then she gets Rookie of the Year. So again, great fix by the Pro Tour. They just did what they should have done. They didn't respond hatefully back and forth with people giving them feedback. They were they honestly probably looked at it and were crap.
They knew it. Yeah, they knew it.
But they were we put 100%. These out before the season. There was a loophole we didn't see.
It's the same.
It is what it is. We'll fix it next year.
With all these awards changes, I do like that, they stick to their guns when it happens like that. They're they just announce it as it is. They just kind of take it and then they fix it.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
And then the final one that I believe has a little bit of change, but I could be wrong. Actually, I think I am wrong, is the most improved. It's just going to be 50% fan vote, 50% media vote.
I think that's still the same.
Yeah. So that one, I have no problem with the fan and media deciding most improved, because yeah, you could, they said the tiebreaker is total Disc Golf Pro Tour points. So yeah, I mean, because like realistically, like the most
one is
improved
super
is just like
subjective.
it's a fully subjective award. So there's not going to be a ton of like there's going to be debate regardless, but it's not going to be like super heavy debate like player of the year or rookie of the year is, because most improved is just like it can mean a different thing to different people.
Right. Exactly.
So like if you look at the stats, that's not going to be the same as like people's feelings about most improved, and is what it is. So, and it also gives the fans something to vote for. So if there's recency bias on most improved, who cares?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's just fan and media vote. So all those changes I think are great, and now we know them going into the year. And yeah, so all in all, I think it was just like a big week because it's the week before the start of the tour. So a lot of things had to be announced, the rankings, the updated points, all of that stuff. But now that we have it all in front of us, should make for a very interesting season. I am probably most curious just to see if the PDGA updates it, their ranking system at all. Like if they do make it an average between the majors or something like that. It's not the most criminal thing the way it is. It has pros and cons over the UDisc rankings, but if it's going to be our ranking system for the year, I would like for it to be close to perfect.
Here's the other thing. Does it reset year by year? I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, I think the world rankings from the last year will roll into.
Yes, but then like when the numbers come in, are they going to go on to their averages from last year, or is it just this year's averages? Because then it'll be just like you're going to be ranked basically where you finished in the first event.
Yeah, I mean that might happen for the first event. I don't know what their solution is.
If that was the case, then we wouldn't have accurate rankings until like
I don't know what
their solution.
Maybe that's why it's going to take a little bit to update. Yeah. Maybe it won't update till after the first.
That's true.
Major.
I didn't even think about that. In that case, they can't really update until there's like quite a few events under the belt, and that's fine. That's fine.
Maybe it should almost be like the past 12 months.
That's what it should be.
I don't know if that's what it is.
That's what it should
be. I read through it, and honestly, that question didn't even cross my mind.
One drops, one
because
adds,
then like
one drops, one adds.
The only thing that'll be weird is like there's going to be a period. No, there won't be. Well, there'll be a period where Worlds would drop before Worlds happened some years because it's not always the exact same weekend. But you can like make a clause for majors.
Yeah.
But regardless, that would be like Las Vegas happens, so Las Vegas or maybe you just do that because it's the same tour events.
It just subs in and out.
Yeah, it just subs in and out.
Something like
First
that.
Pro Tour event.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. Like if they just drop everything, it's gonna be like we're gonna have the weirdest world rankings ever.
Yeah, so maybe that's why it's not updating after every event. Maybe that's why they put it that way. It's so that you get some data in because by the end of the year it should be just about the previous season.
Right.
But at the beginning of the year, yeah, that's kind of a weird thing. It's like the college basketball, or any other college rankings. Well, the preseason rankings factor in.
Yeah, so they're using precedent from last year.
Yeah, so that way, by this point in the season, it's fully just this season. But when you start, you at least have a top 25 that's like coherent and makes sense. Versus like a team loses the first week and they're immediately like, oh, you have
like sorry, Duke lost to Kansas, but they're not ranked in the top 25.
But then you might have because the first few games of basketball season are like nobodies
and stuff. Yeah,
a lot of times.
Well, sometimes
they're playing big games.
Opposite, yeah.
Sure, but a lot of the tour or a lot of the schedule is super weak.
Right,
and so you might have like Belmont beat a big name school, and it's like, oh, Belmont's number three in the country. But that way it does that. So hopefully for the PDGA that you're able to do the same thing and just kind of like factor it as it goes.
You can just use our rankings.
I wouldn't suggest
as their
that.
president.
I wouldn't suggest that.
Why? They're accurate.
I mean, they're accurate to us.
Not statistically proven.
I didn't use much stats. I used my gut.
Yeah, same. Well, that's because they're predictions, though.
Yeah, no. Yeah, they're like what this upcoming season.
Rankings. Don't
they're
get
just our
twisted.
guts. Yeah. And speaking of guts, college disc golf. Last thing to talk about.
Wow, that was nice.
Thank you.
Nobody's gonna get it, but
no, but we got it. It's okay. All right. So it looks like there wasn't any qualifiers this past weekend. 2 qualifiers coming up this weekend. Not many teams are involved in these two, but the battle of the how do you say Bayou? B-A-Y-O-W.
The Bayou. I think that's
B-A-Y-O-U. Bayou?
The Bayou.
I didn't know. It was a New Orleans word. I don't know.
The Bayou Bengals.
Yeah. I don't know. But so the battle of the Bayou is going down. Florida State and LSU seem to be the only 2 teams there facing off. And then we have Kentucky and Eastern Mennonite will face off at the EMU qualifier, the Eastern Mennonite qualifier. I'm not sure which one of those teams are or aren't already qualified for nationals, but we're getting down to the nitty gritty. There's basically 2 or 3 more weeks of the college national qualifying season, and then registration for nationals and all of that happens.
I know there's certain teams going next weekend to play the nationals courses.
Nice.
To get a little sneak peek.
Yeah, a little sneak peek. That's always a good move. I know Clemson's qualifier is coming up. They're always like one of the last qualifiers of the year, early March, and that's one of my favorite tournaments every year.
Grand Central
And that's like typically that's like a very well attended event, because if you haven't qualified
your
yet,
last shot.
it's one of your last shots.
And a lot of teams there have already qualified.
And then a lot of teams there have already qualified, but it's like their last chance to like see the main competition, because you have like Seco early in the year, which I don't even know if we heard about this year, but Seco normally was like one of the most well attended collegiate events. And so that was like your early season preview of like Ferris was there, Clemson was there, NC State. We went there one year. So you got to like see basically what nationals is going to be like early in the season and know, okay, at Seco we were X amount of strokes off of whatever team,
right? And
then prepare throughout the year.
That didn't work out for us.
Well, no, because we showed up and won and then got overconfident. And we're like, oh, dude, it's the same course as nationals, so we're going to dominate. And then we showed up and got steamrolled. But normally you have Seco, and then the end of the year tournament is Clemson. So those are like your bookend tournaments to kind of get a good feel. But yeah, we'll definitely keep you posted on some college disc golf as the season wraps up and we head into nationals. But that's going to wrap it up. Like I said, check out our Discord if you're going to be watching live disc golf and you want to pop in the live tournament chat. Also, be sure to tune in to our Las Vegas Challenge preview. Super excited to be doing that. That'll be happening on Wednesday. Not sure if it's going to be live or if we're just going to post it. Like if we're going to live stream it or just post it. Either way, you'll be able to just watch it after, because we're not going to be like, it's not going to be a live show where we're just talking to the comments, and if you miss it, you miss it. It's going to be just more of like, we might go live while we do it. But yeah, we're going to go with some like in-depth stats, stuff like that. Just look strictly at the tournament for 30, 45 minutes. Just kind of let it flow. So that way you can get all the updated stories right before the tournament. So if anything happens at the press conference, anything like that, you can get all that stories and know exactly what to look for going into the weekend. And then we'll be back here Monday to talk about everything that did happen and whether we looked stupid or not with our predictions.
Heck yeah.
So it should be a good time. We'll talk to you all on Wednesday.